she became so much more specific with the content that she was sharing that she ended up losing hundreds, if not thousands of followers because they were just not interested in stuff that she was sharing. It's a lot of effort to grow that following, to grow that influence and that authority. And to see your follower number go down is really intimidating. However, it allows the people that want to stay, that need your presence, that need your services and your content to actually stick around. They're the ones that are the most engaged anyway, and they're the ones that are more likely to buy from you. Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. I have been meaning to record this episode for so long, and here's why. Because there is something that is so crucial, so important in niching down in your business, who you serve, what services and products you're delivering, and to whom, for many reasons. And part of it is actually, I kind of want to riff on this, and the irony in this is, in understanding who it is that you're serving, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to show up on stage, on podcasts, even recording your own show. I remember when I was first starting, actually recording these solo episodes, I was so nervous. I reached out to my friend Emily Hirsch. She has the podcast called Not for Lazy Marketers. You have to check her out. She's the ultimate riffer. And I asked her, how do you do this? Because usually I have all these notes and these bullet points and I have to go through it. She's just said, the more you do it, the better you get at it. But there's also one thing that she missed out, which I think is absolutely crucial in all of this, is the fact that the more you know your audience, the more you know your customers, the easier it is for you to show up, to talk about the things that position you as the authority in the space without messing up. Because you know what you can do in terms of the value you can provide, the information you can provide and share for them to help, hopefully, your audience or your customers take some sort of action that helps them grow their business or lose weight or whatever it is that you do. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of niching down and why this is important beyond just sales, why this is important in your marketing and specifically in public relations. So yes, I got to do this, defining what is a niche. Listen, I know some people call it niche, and I don't really like that word, so I'm going to call it niche. Let me know, actually, what do you prefer, niche or niche? So what a niche is a focused strategy that involves targeting a specific, well-defined segment of the market with your specialized products or services with catered marketing efforts that meet their unique needs and preferences. There's this thing called the halo effect. So think about a bullseye, right? So the center of the bullseye is your target audience. Let's just say she's a 35-year-old mother of 2 kids and has a business who's trying to reach their first $1 million in revenue. That just happens to be my ideal customer. And her name is Jackie. Now, Jackie is an actual real person in my life. She's a friend. And I adore her. I actually ended up working with her. She came through my Authority Booster intensive day. And it turned out that everything that she believed in, all of her values, the part of the life that she's in was, I recognized that she's actually my ideal customer for many reasons, but I just know how to serve her in a way that I don't think other people can. Why? Because she's a mother. I'm also a mother. So we share those values because she believes in personal development. She's Canadian, although I do work with Americans, actually mostly Americans. However, I have an affinity for people that live in my own country. She has a business model that I understand. I understand her goals are for business, and there's so many other things. So understanding that Jackie's that bullseye. So you think about like those other rings around it, they're called the halo effect, right? So these are, if you shoot a bow and arrow or you throw a dart at it, you might reach these other rings. Now, it doesn't mean these people can't become customers or clients, right? So maybe it's a 29-year-old woman who doesn't have kids, but she's in the position in her business where she's still trying to reach that first $1 million revenue. It could be a man. So going further out on the target, it could be a man. And that's okay too. 50% of my customers are men. However, everything that I do is focused to serve Jackie. Doesn't mean I can't work with men. It doesn't mean I can't work with childless women. Not at all. But the more niche down I can get with the messaging, with who I'm targeting, with the podcasts that I'm a guest on, as well as the content I'm creating for this show, the easier it gets for me to create content and easier it gets for people to relate, right? So let's talk about focused attention. When you narrow your target audience to a specific niche, you can create content specifically for those pain points. That smaller group makes it easy for you to deliver that content to. They can relate to it. Do you ever go to a website or someone's social, like Instagram account, and you think to yourself, oh, wow, this person is talking to me. They're pressing on all my bruises and all my pain points. It's probably because you're the ideal customer, right? So I've used this example before, but Lori Harder was saying on her podcast, I guess about a year ago now, maybe more, how she switched the content on her Instagram account, if I recall the story correctly. And in that process, she became so much more specific with the content that she was sharing that she ended up losing hundreds, if not thousands of followers because they were just not interested in stuff that she was sharing, which to her was like, it's a bummer because you see those numbers go down, which for you, it's probably a lot of work. It's a lot of effort to grow that following, to grow that influence and that authority. And to see your follower number go down is really intimidating. However, it allows the people that want to stay, that need your presence, that need your services and your content to actually stick around. They're the ones that are the most engaged anyway. And they're the ones that are more likely to buy from you. So when you get that focused attention on a very specific type of content that you need to create to a very specific type of audience you need to create, everything becomes easier. Now, outside of social media, outside of marketing, when you become super niche in your product or service offering, it helps to reduce the competition, right? So it's not a red ocean anymore. It's a blue ocean. And what I mean by that is I'm a publicist. I'm a PR expert. And technically what I do can service almost every single industry. However, I'm not just a PR expert that can work with anybody. I don't work in accounting. I don't work with lawyers. I don't work with developers. It doesn't say I can't. I could probably do a great job. But now, if I'm focused on specific creators, service-based female entrepreneurs, my competition goes way down. Now I have a very specific type of person that I'm working with, right? So now the competition is less fierce. Now it's not as challenging for me. I face less competition. So this means that I'm positioning myself as the expert and the authority in my niche. And that significantly helps to boost my credibility and my trustworthiness in the eyes of my audience. The other thing that the niche really helps you with is customized solutions, right? So niche audiences typically have unique problems and desires that aren't necessarily adequately addressed by other generic solutions. So when you focus on the niche, your niche market, you understand, for example, who my Jackie needs, then I can create those services specifically for her, and then I can carbon copy that for other Jackies. So I'm not going to create a complete new process and complete new strategies for every single new customer that comes through my doors. No, we've created a repeatable, scalable PR strategy and retainer model that can be used for the Jackies of the world. Because of this, everything we do becomes way more cost effective. Way more cost effective because now we know what we need to do to get in front of the Jackies. We're not trying to reach everybody. We don't have a diverse audience. We have a very targeted niche. We have very specific content, social media strategies to help engage those people. And that inevitably leads to better ROI. So when we first started out, we're like, hey, let's just do this for everybody. And like there's some part of it that, I encourage testing different waters. However, when you start to get more focused, like I would even go deeper. I would go so deep. Here's one thing, and I'm going to bring up Jackie again as an example. She is launching and has launched an incredible podcast called The Jackie Service Show. And she interviews COOs of funded tech companies on the West Coast of Canada and the United States. And why? Well, because that's her audience. Those are actually her customers and potential customers. But notice I didn't say not funded or CFO or across North America. It is so specific. And maybe this has changed since her and I spoke last. Because when we opened up Crunchbase and we opened up LinkedIn, there were thousands of them. And so arguably, she could even get more niche than that. The deeper you go, the easier it is to find these people. The easier it is to create services and solutions for these people because you know who you're serving and why. This also leads to long-term sustainability in your business and with all the things that you do, right? So what I mean by this is while broader markets may subject to market fluctuations and changing trends and niches and all this stuff, there's so much instability. When you have a specific product for your specific audience, it tends to remain consistent over time. And you can start to see the patterns and predictions if there's any sort of market change and stuff that's going on that allows you to prepare before things get worse. Now, niching down also makes marketing easier, as I said. So here's why this is important, especially for, we'll say, podcasting. When you come through our doors, through your Authority Booster Intensive program, or if you become a retainer client, one of the things we do is we create your media list. Okay. And then specifically your podcast list. We don't just pitch you to every podcast. When I say, hey, send me your Dream 10 list, you know who everybody puts on the Dream 10 list? Lewis Howes. I love it. Like I know the guy, incredible content, but take a look at who he has as guest on his show. And without being mean, I haven't had a client yet, only one, who is at that level that could be a guest on his show. So I think it's aspirational to be wanted to build your career and your influence and your authority to be on his show. But to work with me in that short period of time, which is typically 6 months to a year, I don't want to say it's an impossibility, but you got to be doing some really magical things that are complemented by PR, not created by PR, in order to be a guest on Lewis's show. So going backwards is you got to figure out what podcast to your audience listen to. What are they tuning in on? What are they subscribing to and downloading and sharing? Who are these people? Those are the shows you want to be on. And then you'll start to see, okay, maybe there's this person who's a complement or maybe even a competitor to you, and they're going on this podcast roadshow. What shows have they been on? And what's your angle? Now, I've pitched shows for myself to be a guest, or my VA has pitched them. And they may have just already had a PR expert or publicist on the show. And so I look at the opportunity in terms of the angle. What we do might be similar, but how I pitch the show is unique to that audience because, hey, now the listeners are like, hey, there's this PR girl, Christina, that showed up and she had great content, but now there's this Renee Warren girl. And while I know that she offers something similar, her approach is unique. It's different because this is how she's doing it. And so when you hone in on who it is that you're targeting, this makes things a lot easier. It allows you to also have enhanced customer engagement, right? So you get deeper connections with your customers because you already know who they are. You know what they're surviving these days, how they're thriving. Maybe it's a seasonal thing or it's a life thing. If you're servicing women that are going through menopause, you know all the things you're going through. So if you're, for instance, coaching women through menopause, like your target audience isn't men. It's not men, but hey, potentially it could be. Maybe you have a product that says that's serving partners whose wives or other partners going through menopause. How can you help support them? Right? But when you really know niche, like when you niche down, you really understand your audience, and this makes things a heck of a lot easier. And lastly for this, and maybe not last, but one thing that's also important in niching down is it automatically increases your revenue. Believe it or not, getting more specific with who you service and the products or services that you sell to them increases your revenue. I was on a sales call the other day with a woman who I always ask this question. It's like, hey, you and I are meeting in 2 years and we're celebrating the work that we did. What are we celebrating? And she's like, the launch of a new furniture brand, the launch of my book, the launch of a TV show, all these things. And I go, is all that stuff realistic to happen in 2 years? And she's like, no, I don't think so. I go, no, one of those things would be realistic, right? Because all those things are very time-consuming things. And why I say this is because when it comes to niching down, what happens is that you start to see that there's probably a pattern of like 1 or 2 core problems that keep coming up. Sometimes there's 3 or 4. And we have this insatiable need to want to create solutions for those, the 3rd or the 4th or the 6th problem. And as soon as you start adding more offers and more products to the mix, it just gets so confusing to people. And you cannot do that. You have to be very specific. So I do very specific things. I have a VIP PR day as well as a retainer. And of those 2 things are very specific. And I've been asked to be like a fractional publicist and all these things. The opportunities sound beautiful. And I just say no, because the more you do and the less specific you get, the more money you're going to waste, your time you're going to waste, right? Time is of the essence, and you can't be doing all these things for everybody. And what I used to do, and it got weird actually with one of my friends, she thought this was silly, was I physically identified what my ideal customer looked like. This was before I realized that Jackie was my ideal customer. And I printed out a picture of a woman who must have been like 32, holding a 2-year-old. And she looked like a tech startup because at the time, that's who I was targeting. This was a few years ago. I printed it out, I framed it, and I put it on my desk. My friend Jessica came over and she's like, who is that? I go, I actually don't know. And I explained it to her. And then she asked me, well, why do you do that? And I told her that it is an incredible reminder every day when I sit down to get to work of who it is that I'm serving. Because the picture of that woman smiling is like the end goal for her. And I know what she needs from me. And I know how to show up for her, but also it was a gentle reminder of those days when I just don't feel like showing up, how that woman needs me, right? My clients need me because I'm doing their PR. I'm helping them with their positioning and their messaging and building out awesome pitches and media kits and all this stuff. And if I'm not honing in on that specific woman's needs and reminded that I'm here for her, serving her, things will just get a little bit crazy. Sometimes I'll just want to go and Netflix and eat chips for the rest of the afternoon. I know we all get those days. So anyways, when you work with me through any of our programs, this is one of the most important things that we do is we go through and we identify your ideal customer. And ideal customer is like niching down specific who you serve, what you do for them, what are the expectations, determine of timelines, like if you're a coach, how long is the program, what is the outcome, all these things. Because we can't offer any sort of PR solutions with really understanding that. And there are moments when we have to kind of backtrack and go through and help people re-identify who their ideal customer is. I actually love doing that. But to them, it opens up so much possibility. And this is actually an exercise you should be doing every year. Come December, when you're planning for the next year, it is such a great time to start reintroducing or like rejigging who your ideal customer is. Because listen, if it's that 35-year-old woman and some things in the industry have changed, there's new trends, all this stuff has come out, like how is your service or your product shifting? So if you need to update the ideal customer, that's what you go and do. But especially now, this time of year is time to start planning for 2024. And on that note, on October 25th, we are going live with my famous workshop called the Preloaded Marketing Year Workshop. So it's a preloaded marketing year workshop. And that is October 25th. So you go to wewildwomen.com/workshop. That's wewildwomen.com/workshop. And you can find out all the details about this workshop where we're going to teach you all the new trends in digital marketing, the support of AI, how to create your 2024 marketing calendar, key timelines and annual themes, how to implement effective work-back schedules, and all these cool systems to make creating content and creating a marketing and PR strategy so easy for you that you just take it and you give to your implementer or you do it yourself. So join us on October 25th. Go to wewildwomen.com/workshop to register for free. And I really urge you to show up live so that you can ask all of your questions. This is such a fun workshop. I did this a couple years ago and we had so many people come out for this. So wewildwomen.com/workshop. And I hope to see you there. So there you have it. thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time, the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.